You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com. Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. Joining us on the Newsmaker line right now is the MLW National Openweight Champion. He is the Suplex Assassin, Alex Kane. Are you with me, sir?
I am with you. This is my first time on radio.
I even joked with Sean, you didn't need to set up your green screen, which I've seen you use in the Zoom kind of interviews. I'm old school. I like to do it just audio.
Nope.
So it's been a couple months now. How does it feel to hold a major world championship, the National Openweight Championship for MLW?
Man, it's definitely a dream come true. I mean, I definitely didn't think that my my would take off as fast as it has, and as cool as it has. But it's definitely it's definitely one of those things where it's you look little kid you would be really, really proud of you, and be like, dude, this is so awesome. This is what you would do for your character in a video game or something, but it's real life.
That's awesome. And of course, the last champion that held that belt is now the world heavyweight champion in Alexander Hammerstone. So it certainly is that intercontinental kind of title where it's the stepping stone. It's the next title towards being the guy, the number one guy, the face of the company.
Yeah, most definitely. And the intercontinental title was one of my favorite belts, especially the oval one was one of my favorite belts ever.
So I've seen a number of the interviews that you've done, and one of the questions you always get asked, but I always love the answer, and I always love to ask our guests this, so I'm going to ask it anyway. How did you fall in love or find this wild world of professional wrestling when you were a kid, and how did you know that this was where you were going to go with your life? So
I went to this yard sale, and I didn't necessarily know what professional wrestling was at the time. But there was this VHS tape called Stone Cold Demolition, and the person, there was a kid in my neighborhood, he was selling it, and he kind of gave me the rundown of who Steve Austin was, and what the kind of the story of the movie was, and I was like, that sounds interesting enough. So I bought that, I took it home, I popped it into my VHS player. And I was just glued to the television, glued to the TV, just watching him and Kane and Undertaker and all that battle it out, and I guess tell that story. That was really dope to me. And then from there, I kind of got into I believe I got into the video games. I've started one of my older brother's friends had SmackDown, Just Bring It. And I wasn't even interested in doing the wrestling in the ring. I was trying to go backstage. I was trying to be backstage as much as possible or whatever. It was weird. And then I got into the action figures, and I still have them at my house. I think my nephews have pretty much destroyed them at this point, but I got into those. I would trade with my friends and put together little shows in my room with the music from the video games. And then the first time I actually saw professional wrestling, it was Undertaker versus Jeff Hardy on Raw for the Undisputed title, when Undertaker basically beat the mess out of Jeff Hardy. He beat the brakes off that man. And I remember I was sitting there with my dad, and I looked at my dad, I'm like, this is what I'm going to do with my life. And he was just like, okay, son, okay. I don't know if he thought I was serious or not, but I was like, this is what I'm going to do with my life. And from that day on, I would tell anybody that would listen that I'm going to be a professional wrestler.
That's incredible. That's awesome. And now that you are a wrestler, you've established quite a nickname for yourself. You're the Suplex Assassin. It sounds like something we've heard before, but we haven't. It's its own unique name. How'd you come up with the nickname, the Suplex Assassin?
Man, you're probably expecting some crazy origin story of it, but it was so there was this company called Evolve, and they would do wrestling tryouts and stuff, and they came to Atlanta because I don't know, I guess Atlanta was a pretty hot market at the time, but they came to my training school AR Fox's training school, the
Hmm.
WWA 4, and they held a tryout there, and I did the tryout match with a buddy of mine. And when all was all said and done, like the guy's name was, I guess the booker's name was like Gabe Sapolsky, I believe is
Gabe
how you say it.
Sapolsky. Gabe
Yeah,
Sapolsky.
Gabe Sapolsky. Yeah,
Fortunately, he just got released from WWE, but that's another story.
yeah. So he would send feedback, and this man basically, like, in the feedback, this man basically like crapped on my entire life. Basically told me I suck, I have no charisma, no character,
Oh.
all of these things. And this was like, I want to say 2-3 years ago now. Um, and so I was like, well, I mean, I guess all the other stuff can kind of be fixed, but like I need a character. I can't just be the guy that wears a singlet with a mohawk. Like there's plenty of guys out there that do that. So I need something. And like I have I have the amateur background, I have the collegiate wrestling background, freestyle Greco, folk style. So I was like, I want that to be in I want that to be in my, I guess, character, my gimmick. But I can't be the machine. I can't be the suplex machine. It's already been done.
Right.
And so I was playing, I believe it was WWE 2K18, I believe it was, maybe 17, one of the two. And I was kind of like trying to create myself in the creation suite. And I got like like the aesthetic stuff done, and I was trying to figure out a name. So I put Alex Kane in there. I listened to how it sounded from the announcer. Like, okay, that sounds cool, but I need like a moniker to go with it. So I was like, I definitely want to throw suplexes. Suplexes got to be in there. And then I'm scrolling through the names, and I see Assassin, and I'm like, Suplex Assassin. Has
Yeah.
anybody ever been the Suplex Assassin? Like, I looked it up online, Googled it, Twittered it, Instagrammed it, all that. Nobody's ever been the Suplex Assassin. I'm like, that is it. I'm running with it.
There you go. That's awesome. And so I'm going to tackle two hard subjects here with you, and one of them is the subject that unfortunately we just can't seem to kick out the door, and that is this pesky pandemic. You actually came out the other side of this, the worst of this pandemic, and signed with MLW. But how hard was it for you when you weren't signed to survive as a professional wrestler through the COVID-19 pandemic?
Uh, I mean, I think when COVID first started, I got laid off from the job that I was at. I was working for a roofing company. I wasn't doing like physical roofing and stuff. I worked in the office, but they laid me off. So like I was just collecting unemployment, and like I guess the hardest part about all that really was not being able to wrestle. Like not like for like a few weeks there we couldn't even go to the gym. So you were just in your house. I was just in my house doing like push-ups and sit-ups as much as I possibly could to kind of try to keep myself sane and play what video games I do have. But after a while, all that gets boring and you get
Right.
lazy. So I think that was probably the worst part about it. And then like when I don't know, not necessarily when things started to open up, but like places started to try to run with like no crowd. There's a place in Piedmont, Alabama that was running called Pro South Wrestling. And they would run with no crowd or whatever, and it was just a way for me to get into the ring. I mean, it was like $10 or $15, because they would still pay us even without like having the fans in there. But they would just do like a stream. It was just a way to get in there with somebody and like still like kind of keep your body fresh. But yeah, man, I do
I'll
not
t-
want to go back.
One of the cool stories I got to post was when you signed, and when you did sign with MLW, it was a big deal. That was headline news. It made headline news. People were excited to see you sign there, and you ended up being the #2 draft pick in the draft. What was that whole experience like, finally getting to sign with a major company like Major League Wrestling?
Well, the cool thing was for me was like I believe a year before, I made like a list of all the things that I wanted to do last year. Well, 2021, it hadn't been that long, but all the things I wanted to do in that year, and I like legitimately like like I did podcasts before that, and they would ask like where, like if you could go anywhere, where'd you want to go? And I was always like MLW. That's a place I would want to go before I go anywhere else. And I literally put on my list like get signed by a major company or whatever. And then for MLW to contact me, and them being Major League Wrestling, it was kind of like, I guess I spoke that into existence. That's kind of cool.
There you go. Yeah.
But yeah, to be at the time, I was like 2 years in, to reach this level of success so early, because for some guys it takes them 10, 15 years. It takes sometimes even longer. So to be here this fast, this early, is definitely a blessing. And I mean, the grind doesn't stop or anything like that. I mean, it's literally just another stepping stone to get to, whatever the ultimate goal is or whatever the ultimate stage is.
And you're paired with MLW's maybe the most scary guy in the entire MLW locker room, if I could be so bold. Of course, King Mo is who I'm talking about. How did you like being paired with King Mo?
Man, I think I watched him like a few times on like Impact, and I believe I saw him on Bellator once or twice. But like when I initially met him, like I didn't like at first I was like, okay, I don't know how this is gonna be, but like when we finally like linked up or whatever, like it was like Mo to me is like the uncle that you always wanted, like the cool uncle that you always wanted that could at any time at the drop of a hat could knock somebody out for you, and there'd be no problem about it. But he's definitely family to me. So being paired up with Mo is definitely, and he's always showing me something. He's always showing me a new way to get into something, a new hold to do. Like he's super knowledgeable as far as like upping my fight game.
Absolutely. So here's the other touchy subject that I said I would go over. There's two only controversial ones, and here's the other one. So I recently interviewed Shane Taylor, who, I'm going to be blunt with you, I'm a 40-year-old white guy, so I'm not, I'm not at the forefront of the racial debate right now. But it was very interesting talking to him about things and how he wants the perception of black athletes to change completely. And I've heard you say much the same things in your prior interviews. How are you enduring that change, and do you think that you're starting to see the difference being made in terms of how people perceive African American wrestlers?
I feel like there's glimpses of it, but I also feel like a lot of it is really performative in a way. Like you see flashes of it, like I can almost remember a certain company like a few years ago, like during Black History Month, like all the popular black wrestlers became champion, and then as soon as Black History Month is over, they all drop the belt, and it's like I think that's what people think. What people think we need as far as representation goes, but that's not it. It's the stories, it's the booking, it's people in the writing room to write for black wrestlers, because like no matter like how do you put this, like you need black writers to write for black wrestlers. Like you need that, like, because like a black writer is the only person that's going to understand the black experience within wrestling or within the world, really. So I feel like you need somebody in the writing room speaking for you that looks like you, so that everybody else in the writing room understands, where your character needs to be coming from.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So the wrestling world has changed a little bit. And if there's ever been a time for a third company, an alternative company to be around, now is the time for it, with all the available talent, with the shrinking of WWE, with their releasing of so many talents. You guys are poised for something really special right now with the amount of available talent out there. Is there anybody that is going to be on the market soon that maybe you're thinking, I really hope to see him in the MLW locker room?
Jonathan Gresham.
That's a heck of an answer.
Gresham. Just thinking about Shane Taylor, like Shane Taylor Promotions, all 4 of them.
Yep, absolutely. So this is maybe the third controversial question. Like yesterday, MLW made some headlines with a lawsuit. Don't know how much you can say about it. Don't know how much you want to say about it. But what's your thoughts on
Can't say anything about it. Can't discuss anything on the ongoing litigation.
No problem. All right. So coming up in just a few days, in fact, the 21st of January, you're going to be taking on Calvin Tankman, defending your MLW National Openweight Championship. What's your thoughts on heading into this match and heading into Dallas, Texas, so rich in wrestling history?
Man, this will be my first time wrestling in Dallas, so I'm excited about that. I've been torturing Calvin Tankman for months now, and the torture is not going to stop. I'm going into Blood and Thunder with a pretty solid game plan, and I plan to execute that game plan. And at the end, as when it's all said and done, you will hear Boomaye, you will hear my music, and Calvin choking on a submission.
Beautiful. I love it, man. And what is your future goals in MLW? Do you have your eyes set on that aforementioned MLW Heavyweight Championship currently held by Hammerstone?
My eyes have always been set on the world title. That's not I guess the immediate goal for me. I want to have one of the best. It would be hard. It's definitely some huge shoes to fill to even have a run as national openweight champion as great as Hammerstone did. But if I can't have one as great as he did, at least get up there within a few runs, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, man. Well, I want to thank you for taking this much time with me to talk about everything from old wrestling videotapes to the race relations in professional wrestling. It's been a heck of a conversation. We went a lot of different routes, so I appreciate you hanging with my kind of frantic questioning here, and I thank you for doing that with me.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
Before I let you go, do you mind if I ask for one last favor from you?
What's up?
Do you mind if I ask for a station ID, just saying this is Alex Kane, and you're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio?
All right. Just do it right now.
Yeah, you want me? I'll do the whole countdown thing. Let's do 5, 4, 3, 2.
Yo, this is the Suplex Assassin, Alex Kane, and you are now listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio.
This is Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Oh, rush.
Featuring the interactive interview.
Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Oh yeah.
Formerly The Blaze.
The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze rock.
Yo, Maniacs, so what you gonna do when the Blaze of Maniacs runs wild on you?
On WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling
Epicenter. Wrestling
Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And now we shamelessly name drop from our history.
The Wrestling Epicenter would like to apologize for the following.
All right, everybody. Arriba la raza. Viva la raza.
Hey, y'all.
Hello, ladies.
Hey, guys. We had a lovely conversation. First lady. Absolutely. Oh, look at me. She's so kooky. Hi.
Be there. Where else?
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Wrestling
Epicenter.
Oh, my God. You win. Wow. Being interactive.
Whoa. I just got some listen. I was not shooting. Yeah, I almost missed my fans. Breaking neck. I got 2 words for you. I've heard a lot about you guys. Let's go. Excuse my language. You're going to go to the shop. Plenty of them now. We're going to get many.
No nerves.
That was great. It's going to be cool. Woo. What it's all about. The purest point of view. The living legend. Roger Rowan. Arrogant.
You're listening to me.
Instead of statement, I'm talking to you.
So glad to leave without you.
Yeah.
In the land of extreme.
That's the 5. Nevermore. Interactive interview. I'm not just the best. Interactive interview with a plastic
You earned the right.
Nobody. You better keep listening. Thank you very much. Controversy creates cash. Professional wrestling.
In the USA, baby.
Memphis wrestling. The guy on fire. I'm not
We were sexy.
What a show.
The one and only.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Wrestling
Epicenter. Interactive interview. We took care of the business. This isn't ballet. We are huge with this whole. You're where it's at. You gotta recognize who's the best. Make sure to tune in each and every week. I'll come out of your computer. Knock down your door and turn it on for you. Or else I'm gonna kick your stinking teeth in. And that's the bottom line. Have a nice day. It's showtime.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.